On behalf of Leaside United and Rosedale United churches here in Toronto, welcome to the Maker's Nest. Good morning. It is so nice to be with you all as we learn and have fun today with all of our friends, including our handy-dandy assistant Couscous. Today, we begin the start of a beautiful and important story, the one of Moses. Now, you might know some of Moses' story, and that's awesome. We're going to break it down over the next few weeks, starting from the very beginning, even before he was born, going up to him as an adult and all of the amazing things that God showed him he can do. You'll need your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible, but if you don't have it, don't worry. We'll go through the story together. Now, let's get started. For today's activity, we're going to try a little science experiment. And so you'll need a few things. You'll need maybe a sink or a bathtub, or if you want, a container like a pot or bucket, just something that you can fill with water. Always double check with your grown-up on what works best for them as well. I have a little pot here that I could fill with water. We're also going to fill it up with water, and we're going to try and see if we can make things float in it. So you might need maybe little containers. If you have leaves, you could try leaves from outside. I have a piece of paper and we'll see what happens. We have a little candle and we have a little figurine. If you have a Lego character, you might want to use a Lego character or maybe an action figure. This is who I have on hand. And so Dancing Jesus and us will see you in 2 seconds. We begin with lighting the Christ candle, which we do each week, as a reminder of the light that shines within each and every one of us. We begin each day with our opening prayer. The words are on the screen. Dear God, we thank you for today. We thank you for tomorrow. We thank you for our brains that help us think, for our bodies that help us move, and our hearts that help us love. Amen. A note for the grown-ups. The story of Moses is one that we love to tell our children. It has action and adventure, it has miracles, and it is an exciting story. But it's also one that is filled with moments of danger and anger and violence. It does have death and murder and slavery. It is not a story that is the most child-friendly, we'll say. We will tell the story in a child-friendly way to the best of our capabilities, but, as always, we invite you to stick around and make sure that this story is right for your child's age. If you're looking for one that's a little bit more approachable, then please let us know at Leaside or Rosedale, and we'll see you in the craft section later in the video. Many, many, many years after the sons of Jacob and Abraham and Isaac settled into the land of Egypt, they became known as the Hebrews. They were welcomed and respected. But eventually, one Pharaoh rose to power in Egypt. He did not remember Joseph. He did not care for the Hebrews. He saw them not as Egyptians, but as strangers and outsiders. He was afraid. What if they decide to go to war? What if they join our enemies? So the Pharaoh made the Hebrew people slaves, forcing them to make bricks and work in quarries cutting stones. But for the Pharaoh, even this was not enough. He decided that there were too many Hebrew people. And so he went to the midwives, who were women that helped the Hebrew women when they were having babies. "When you go to help a Hebrew woman give birth," he said, "if the baby is a boy, you must remove him. Don't let anyone see what you're doing." When they were alone, the midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, wondered what to do. They decided that they would tell the Pharaoh that by the time they arrived, the babies were already born, and there was nothing to be done. The plan worked, but only for a while. Eventually, the Pharaoh had his soldiers be involved. The Hebrew people were scared. Among them was a young woman called Jochebed. She was pregnant. Every day she prayed that her child would be a girl like her older daughter Miriam. But it was a little boy. She wept. How could she keep him safe from Pharaoh? One day, Miriam said, "I wish we could build him an ark, like Noah did for the animals. Then he would be safe." The mother looked at her daughter in amazement. "Quickly, go gather some reeds and we'll build our own ark." Miriam and Jochebed wove a basket out of papyrus reeds and made it watertight. Then they put the baby inside. The little ark with the baby floated down the Nile. Miriam followed it. It got caught in some bulrushes on the shore. At that moment, a group of women came down the river to bathe. "What is in that basket?" asked one of them. "Go get it for me." Miriam froze. What would the woman do when she saw what was in the basket? "It's a baby!" cried the woman. "It must be one of the Hebrew babies. Someone has set it afloat in the river to hide it from my father." Her father? Miriam peered through the reeds. Had her brother fallen into the hands of the Pharaoh's daughter? But then the princess said, "What a beautiful child. I will keep him. He must be safe. My father will not dare touch him if I say he is mine." Miriam's thoughts whirled in her head. She had an idea. "Your Highness," she called, "you'll need a woman who is able to feed the baby. I know someone who can help you." The princess looked at Miriam. She looked thoughtful. "I'm sure you do," she said. "Perhaps you could give her a message for me. Tell her that the baby is safe. If she will nurse him, I will pay her well." Miriam, overjoyed, turned to leave. "One more thing," added the princess. "Tell her that she has a very brave and clever daughter." Then the princess and the other women walked away back to the palace. Filled with wonder, Miriam ran to tell her mother the good news. Before Moses is even born, his life is saved because of the courage of people around him, and his life is put in danger by people who fear him simply because of who he will be when he is born. The important thing for us to remember is that even when things are their scariest, even when things look so sad and so bleak, there is always hope, and there is always God floating us down the river in life. Today's story is all about these brave women that decide to help a baby that was in trouble. And they did so by putting their faith in God and putting the baby in a basket and putting the basket in the river. Which made me think about, how do we know that things are safe when we put them in dangerous things like rivers? So we're gonna try just a little fun experiment while we chat today. I filled up my pot with water, but like I said, feel free to use a bathtub or a sink or any container that can hold the water like a bucket. And while I do not have a dancing baby Moses, I do have a dancing Jesus, who I think will do the trick quite nicely. So, if this is our baby Moses, we just put Moses in the water and Sorry, baby Moses. I don't think that's gonna work. There we go. Let's see some of the other things we have and see if they help our baby Jesus, Moses character float. I found a little candle. Sometimes we see that candles float. Yeah, like this candle's floating on top of the water. I'm pretty sure I could light it. Ready? And no, that did not take long. That took only a couple of seconds. Maybe if I fold this piece of paper up enough, it'll create something that's a little bit thicker that can actually hold our character. Now there are instructions online, or maybe you have a book of origami at home on how to make a boat out of a piece of paper or a newspaper. However, I don't have that with me, and I think it's fun to try an experiment and see if it works or not, right? Here, let's move this a little bit. Well, this sort of looks like a little canoe. Let's see if it'll work. Ready? We have our action figure and our boat, and it's kind of working. And moment of truth, cross your fingers. Hey, it's working. Oh, we're getting some water in the side. Oh no! Baby Moses, Jesus! Well, he's taking a while to get water in our little paper boat, so maybe this is okay. And yeah, no, he is underwater. We tried. We tried. I have a little sugar bowl. This might work because it doesn't fill up with water. Aha! Look at him. So now we can safely move our baby Moses slash dancing Jesus down the river. And to think, thousands and thousands of years ago, when there wasn't plastic or ceramic bowls or glass or metal boats or anything, the only way that they would have been able to make a basket that could float baby Moses down the river is with hundreds of years of practicing the technique of weaving the basket. Remember back in September when we made a basket by weaving paper together? Same thing, just with, instead of pieces of paper, with plants, with reeds that are very, very thin, and you stack them really, really tight. And then you put stuff inside the basket to make it waterproof. It could be mud, it could be more plant, it could be whatever you have available that makes the basket waterproof. And then they put baby Moses inside. Here, I have one more container to try. Just for fun, here's my tiny little plastic spice container. So you can see, the problem isn't it floating, it floats, but then it tips on its side. But what would happen if we put baby Jesus in? And no, it's too light. And this is just a calm little pot of water. There's nothing scary about this. There's no crocodiles, there's no rapids or rocks, there's no other boats or people or hippos. Just a little water and a little figurine. The women that helped save baby Moses must have been so brave, knowing that they could have risked being hurt themselves, or that the baby Moses could have been hurt himself. I wonder what gave them the courage to do something like this, to put themselves at risk in order to save the life of another. It could be that they are just genuinely good people. That's always the case. It could be faith. It could be knowing that even as they deal with all of this, even as they are scared, that God is with them. Just as when sometimes we feel like we're the baby in the basket or the dancing Jesus in the little ceramic sugar jar in the middle of the pot of water, things can be scary. We don't always know where we're going, but we are never, ever, 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 ever alone. We always have God holding us afloat. What do we think, Goose Goose? Goose Goose, please don't eat the dancing Jesus. It was awesome to be with you today as we learned about the very, very, very beginning of Moses' story. I look forward to being with you in the next few weeks as we learn more about Moses, how he grew up, and where God told him he needed to go. Until then, always remember, you are important and beloved, and God is so happy that you are here, and we are too. We'll see you next week.